quite as impressive at full resolution, is it? Hello, I am Tracker TD, and this is how I made SEGA Carnival a fake stage for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS. If you're watching this, you're probably aware of the SEGA Carnival stage leak thing I threw up on Twitter, Tumblr, and of course YouTube the other day. As many guessed, it was fake, even in spite of the gameplay footage. In this video, I'll be explaining how it was all done. Trust me, it's nothing amazing, but a lot of people requested this, so I may as well make it anyway.
Please understand!
First of all, the 3DS screenshots. These were mostly a simple case of Photoshop, just stick a background from a Sega game in, get a Smash screenshot, mask off the background and stick the characters in place. That's not to say no further editing was involved. For example, the Outrun stage. This image uses a screenshot from the fan-made Cannonball Outrun engine, a Taxman stealth style project for Outrun. The screenshot was unsurprisingly edited to mask out the Ferrari and a few bits of the heads-up display. A simple edit overall. For the 3DS Miku stage, I used a screenshot from Project Diva Extend on the PSP. But a Sony system game in Super Smash Bros? Well, the original plan was to use a shot from the recently released Project Mirai DX on 3DS. But that fell through because I wasn't happy with the angles I was getting in my screenshots. The Mirai shot I was going to use is actually still in the original Photoshop file though. We can consider it a relic of production. Since Sony probably wouldn't be happy for crosses and circles to be flying everywhere as in the Diva games, I decided to use the Mirai rhythm game buttons on screen anyway. And then I wrote them in as a stage hazard. An older version of this image actually had Mr. Game & Watch being hurt by the symbols, but getting the scaling right on him without distorting him heavily was a bit of a chore, so I ended up dropping this idea. That just leaves us with the Streets of Rage screenshot, which technically has the most work behind it. A while ago I produced some 3D dioramas of various old Sega games, rendering 2D areas in 3D. I did this using Crocodile, an amazing modelling program that uses textures as a means of modelling, rather than applying textures to a pre-made model. That's why there's a 3D effect on the buildings in the screenshot. The buildings actually are rendered in 3D. The textures are a bit off in the sign in the back, but thankfully nobody caught that. It's also handy that nobody remembered my old dioramas. So yeah, those were the 3DS screenshots, all well and good. But of course, with this leak, what most people cared about was that Wii U gameplay footage. So how was that done? Well, I hope you're all prepared to be underwhelmed, but here we go. Firstly, as much as I want one, I don't have a capture device. So my only option for the footage of the characters was to use the upload to YouTube function with replays. It was just a case of uploading and then privatising the videos as soon as possible, then deleting the relevant Miiverse posts. So here's what I did for the Mewtwo vs Villager clip on the Miku stage as an example. First, I set the match to one stock and selected, well, Mewtwo and Villager. Note the alternate colour palettes I select for Villager. This is very important. I then chose the Omega version of the 75 meters stage, and then shifted the characters to each side of the stage, moving whilst remaining somewhat idle so things were more interesting in them than just solidly standing there. Then once I had enough footage of the two doing, very little, I just KO'd both players and sent the replay to YouTube. Now for where the magic happens. If chroma keying doesn't ring a bell to you, then green screen probably does. Stand on a coloured background, you can remove all of the colour in editing using chroma keying. It's a fairly common and standard practice, but I hadn't actually used it prior to this. I just wanted to see what could be done with it. I went with 75 meters because its background is solid black, one clear colour that I could easily chroma key out. And that's why Mr. Game & Watch's alternate colour palettes were important. they don't feature black at all as part of the character design, so the chroma keying wouldn't basically remove them or parts of them with the background. This is why I didn't use, for example, Mario. No matter what costume I used with Mario, the chroma keying would have picked up Mario's black mustache and removed it, and it'd look very strange and awkward. This is why I used Villager and Mewtwo in the other clip of the Miku stage. The Villager alternate costume that I chose, as well as Mewtwo for the most part, use little to no black as part of the character design, so I could chroma key the 75 meters background without removing features of them. With the Virtua Fighter stage, I kinda chanced it with Sonic, but it worked because the background of Suru's stage from Virtua Fighter 1 was so dark anyway, so you couldn't really tell that Sonic's nose was kind of removed. Anyway, once the background was chroma keyed out, I just cropped most of the rest of the stage manually. If you look closely, you can definitely still see bits of 75 meters. In Miku's case though, I probably would have just passed it off as a stage support or something if anyone had noticed. Of course, cropping the footage also meant losing the damage and life icons, so I haphazardly cut the icons out of the original footage in Photoshop and put them over the top of the new footage. It was harder to notice in the blurry footage, but these icons look awful. I didn't spend much time on them knowing they'd show up blurry in the footage anyway. If I were to do this again, I'd probably just remake them out of texture rips or something. That just leaves the new stages. The Miku footage came from a YouTube clip of Project Diva F's live mode. During the videos I posted, with all the blurry cam and stuff, I tried to make sure not to include the heads up display and that weird Miku icon in the top right, because that would obviously give it away. You can see them in the full res footage all fine and dandy though. The footage of Suru's Virtua Fighter 1 stage was reliant heavily on Photoshop and the program Miku Miku Moving. Man, Miku's finding a way into everything. For some reason I have a 3D model of the platform from Suru's Virtua Fighter 1 stage for the Miku Miku dancing program. So I just rendered an image of that with a transparent background and then stuck a cityscape in the background instead. I just layered all these backgrounds underneath the 75 meters footage, and voila! New Super Smash Bros. Stages. Kinda. One of the main comments, or rather complaints, I got from this footage was, why on earth is Hatsune Miku there? For those unaware, Hatsune Miku's various games, such as Project Diva and Project Mirai, are published by SEGA. In fact, the latter game was developed by SEGA's legendary AM2 division. Nowadays, it's commonplace to find SEGA fans commenting on or bemoaning the fact that Miku is a huge chunk of what SEGA put out. By this time next year, Miku will have had 3 new games from SEGA in the course of a single year, give or take a month. Some even joke she's like Sega's new mascot. Combine that with the fact that Project Mirai just got released on the Nintendo 3DS, and yeah, Miku seemed kind of appropriate to put here. Okay, I could keep this up, or I could also explain the other huge factor. I am a massive Miku fan, and I thought it'd be crazy enough that it could be real. And judging from some of the responses I got, a few others thought that too. Whilst I did get quite a bit done between the two formats, Wii U and 3DS, there were a few ideas for game-themed stages that I didn't get done. The leak was rumbled very quickly. So here's a quick look at the games I would have represented given the chance. Another concept that went unused was to have 1 or 2 extra clips for Miku, one showing Clover Club being performed, and another with a familiar song. Yes, bizarrely there's an official Miku rendition of Sonic Adventure 2's Live and Learn, and it's awful yet hilarious. I was going to have it so this would play when Sonic was in a match on the Miku stage, like how Alfonso replaces Link on the Spirit Train. Alas, it didn't happen. After publishing the footage, I found a lot of questions on sites like Reddit, Smashboards, YouTube and Twitter. So here I'm going to answer a couple of them. The first question is basically, why are there no sound effects during the attacks? Well, actually this is incorrect. There's still sound in the attacks, but it's practically inaudible in the leak footage due to a few factors. Firstly, my audio mixing in the original video files isn't exactly great. Secondly, my tablet, the thing I recorded the off-screen footage on, has a pretty crappy microphone. Finally, all sound for the footage had to be captured coming out of my headset. My PC has no speakers at the moment. That is why most of the sound is very tough to hear. The second question is basically why did I only provide footage for one character at a time? Actually, this was somewhat unintentional. I couldn't show both characters on screen at the same time without showing more of the, as I've mentioned, awful character icons at the bottom of the screen. That, and for some reason my tablet just wouldn't do it so that I could have them both in shot with the icons more out of shot. So in the end, it was just a case of focus on one character at a time and hope people believe it. Another big question I got was, why don't the characters move much? As the characters move in Super Smash Bros., the camera tracks them and zooms in and out accordingly. Replicating this with the stages and the backgrounds proved to be very, very tricky with Sony Vegas' finicky crop tool. I was going to attempt it with the Virtua Fighter stage, but it just fell through. Another idea I had was to show a final smash. The zooming in that is quick and it'd probably be easier to edit. But by the time that concept had come to me, the leak was already outed. Next question. Why should we trust you, Mr. Post the stage and music select screens? Well, now you know. Never trust me. Next. Where's Etika? He's probably busy being based. I see you, Etika, commenting on my videos. And that just about wraps up the questions. Moving on. Overall, this was a fun time. My prior experience with fake leaks was the Sega X Splatoon stuff, for which I'm planning an extended making of video again by request. So branching out into video editing to create nifty fake stuff was a great new challenge. I never expected it to gain anywhere near as much traction as it has. If any of you were fooled, I'm actually really sorry. If you weren't fooled, which I suspect is most of you, then hey, I hope I could at least give you a laugh or make you think about the concept of the level. That is all from me on this. If you've got any further questions, I'll answer as many as I can in the comments or over on my Twitter page in the description. I hope you all enjoyed this look into the making of SEGA Carnival. Hey, if you like this video, why not check out my main project, This is Saturn. On the show, I talk about various Sega Saturn games. I've just recently done a new episode on Dead or Alive. It's a fun series to produce, and I genuinely love informing people about the Sega Saturn as an underrated console of its era. Anyway, that's all folks, I'll catch you later.